Okay, so I wanted to talk about the quadratic formula in this video. And what the quadratic formula is it is a formula that we can use on a quadratic equation, so an equation that we have to solve, in order to find what x has to be for that equation to equal 0. So let's just write out the formula before we get into anything, but minus b plus or minus, and it's okay if you don't know what these variables are or if you're confused about the plus or minus, but we'll get into it. Plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And that is going to be equal to your x value when your quadratic equation equals 0. So we're going to get into why this is a plus or minus, and we're going to get into what these variables are. But let's do an example just so that we can explain as we go along. So let's do the example x squared plus 2x minus 1. Okay, so in past videos, when we looked at an equation like this, we would probably factor it, right? And then we would find the x values. Yeah, so we can't. It's not actually that easy to do that in this case, because if we try to solve it, it's difficult to find a number that multiplies to -1 and adds to 2. It's impossible, right? Sorry, two numbers that multiply to -1 and add to 2. It's impossible, right? So we can't actually use that. But we still have to find what x value will get this equal to 0, right? So this is where the quadratic equation comes in. You can just plug in the numbers and get what x value will be correct for this to equal 0. Now, first of all, what do these variables mean? Well, this b means the second coefficient. So that would mean 2, because this is the coefficient of the second number, right? And this this is an a, means the first coefficient, and that would be 1, right? Because there's nothing being multiplied to this. And c would mean the third, the constant. It would mean the constant, and so this would be -1, okay? Okay, so if we just plug in our numbers, we'll get into the plus or minus later, sorry. But let's plug in our numbers first. So minus 2, right? -2 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's 2 squared, plus or minus the square root of 4, right? 2 squared is just 4, minus 4ac, so minus 4 times 2 times -1, okay? And we're dividing this by 2a, so 2 times 1. Oh, sorry, I miswrote and misspoke. This a is actually is just 1. This a is just +1. Sorry. A is the first coefficient. I accidentally wrote 2. Okay, and this is going to equal our x value when this equation is 0, right? So this is going to get us the correct x value to plug into this equation for it to equal 0, okay? Okay, so let's just solve a little bit more. So this is going to be -2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 4 plus 4, square root of 8 divided by 2. Okay? Okay, so this is what our x is going to be equal to. So what is this plus or minus? I could probably simplify this a bit more, but actually, you know what? Yeah, let's simplify it a bit more. Let's just memorize the equation. Okay. -2 plus or minus square root of 8 divided by 2. Okay. And our equation was x squared. Sorry, I needed to make another canvas because it was getting messy. x squared plus 2x minus 1. That was our equation. And this is what our x is going to be. Okay, let's simplify this a little bit more. So we have minus 1, I just divided it by 2, plus or minus, we can pull out, I'm just simplifying this, and then, yeah. And then this is still divided by 2. Okay, I'm just doing math here. So plus or minus the square root of 2. Okay, sorry. Okay, so this is our equation. This is equal to x, okay? So this is going to be x when this is equal to 0, okay? So why is it plus and minus? Well, that just means that it can be plus or minus, okay? So that means that it can that x can either equal minus 1 plus square root of 2, or minus 1 subtract the square root of 2, okay? So x can equal two different numbers, okay? That's why there's a plus and a minus. So, yeah, so it can be two different values, right? And that's how the quadratic formula works. Keep in mind that it can only work for equations with 3 terms, because it only has 3 slots for like A, B, and C. But other than that, it's really handy to use, you know, just to determine if an equation really works. And next video we'll be working on discriminants, which is a part of quadratic equations. So yeah, see you then. Thank you.